Hello, everybody. It is time for another episode in our WCW What If series in TEW 2020. CR Daredevil bringing you the action, and we are on the road to Bash at the Beach, where we have the World's Heavyweight Championship on the line. Bam Bam Bigelow defending against Sting. But before we get there, we have a WCW World's Heavyweight Championship match here tonight in the main event. Who is the challenger? We don't know. Roddy Piper is giving somebody a opportunity for that championship tonight. We're going to have to wait and see who it is. Also on tonight's show, we have Dustin Rhodes taking on Chris Benoit one-on-one. If Dustin Rhodes wins, he gets a shot at the United States Championship at Bash at the Beach, as well as whatever else happens tonight. We're going to have to dive into the action. We open up with a video from the New World Order. They are responding to the challenge made on Nitro last week by Austin and the Road Warriors. Of course, it was more of the Road Warriors that made the challenge, and Austin said he would think about it. DiBiase says that they've already planned for this to happen. They already expected Austin and the Road Warriors to issue a challenge to them. They knew that Steve Austin would get desperate enough to try to find allies. They knew that they'd be challenged in this capacity, so of course they accept the challenge. However, they accept the challenge on one condition. You see, when you challenge the NWO, you challenge the full NWO. So all four of them accept the challenge for Bash at the Beach, and the plan will not be stopped. Therefore, as of right now, it is going to be Steve Austin and the Road Warriors in a 4-on-3 handicap match against Paul Levesque, Sean Waltman, Jerry Lynn, and the mystery fourth man in the group. We're going to have to see if Austin and the Road Warriors find a fourth member to their team, so it'll be an even field. And we're also going to have to see, because it's going to be kind of hard to hide it anymore, we're going to have to see who this mystery member of the NWO is. I mean, it's going to be pretty obviously revealed at Bash at the Beach, because you're going to be able to probably tell by the wrestling style. Unless they have a very generic wrestling style, it's probably going to be pretty obvious who that wrestler is. 71 rating for the video. Pretty good way to start off Nitro in front of 10,535 people at the Spokane Arena. Yeah, pretty good stuff there. After that, we have our first of two semifinal matches in the Television Championship tournament happening tonight. And in a decent matchup, after blatantly cheating, Chris Jericho defeated Jesse James Armstrong in 9:27 by submission with a Lion Tamer. Cheated, knocked out Jesse James, then locked him in the Lion Tamer. Referee came to, I guess, or I don't know if he knocked the referee down. Not really specific. But somehow he blatantly cheated. And when the referee saw what was going on, Jesse James Armstrong was knocked out in a Lion Tamer, and the referee just called for the bell. 56 rating for the matchup. Pretty good match there. 52 from Jericho, 56 from Jesse James Armstrong, and now Chris Jericho goes on to the finals at Bash at the Beach for the Television Championship, and he will take on the winner of the match later in the night between Stevie Ray and Alex Wright. Should be a interesting match there. After the match, Jericho quickly leaves the ring and mocks Jesse James Armstrong, who's starting to come to his feet, while celebrating the victory, as commentators put over the valiant effort by Jesse James, while also talking about Jericho fighting for the TV title at the Bash at the Beach. 56 rating for the segment here. Pretty good stuff there, as we kind of get a little bit more hype behind Chris Jericho. Kind of really, since he debuted in WCW, haven't really done a whole lot with him. Part of it is because I still have him under just a ring deal. I don't have him under an exclusive ring deal. And so a lot of times he's usually exhausted from working in CMLL and New Japan, I believe. It's either New Japan or Noah. So I need to get him on an exclusive ring deal so that way he's not consistently exhausted. But yeah, I need to figure out what I'm going to do for that, because clearly he's going to be a future star in our save. I just need to fully lock him down at this point. Nevertheless, 56 rating for this segment. We move on to backstage. We have Gene Okerlund interviewing the Giant. in a very scared way, interviewing the Giant. Giant says he's a goddamn monster, and if Rikishi Fatu wants to be stupid enough to go up against the monster, he will be destroyed by said monster. Giant cannot be stopped by anyone in the world, which includes Rikishi Fatu. So whenever that future match happens between them, the Giant will make sure he finishes Rikishi Fatu off for good. So strong and to the point by the Giant here. 78 rating for this segment. Gaining heat for the storyline, which is always a good thing. But yeah, Giant making it clear that if Rikishi Fatu, at least in his mind, if Rikishi Fatu wants to be stupid enough to step up to the monster known as the Giant, then the Giant will destroy him for good. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that. After that, we go back to the ring, and about the head good heat and decent wrestling, Alex Wright defeats Stevie Ray in 751 by submission with an STF. Probably should have made that by pinfall, but whatever. During the matchup, Lex Luger distracted Stevie Ray. Alex Wright goes on to the finals. The 62 rated matchup, 63 from Stevie Ray, 50 from Alex Wright. And yeah, Lex Luger costing Stevie Ray another matchup, another opportunity. And now the television title matchup is set for Bash of the Beach. It's going to be Chris Jericho versus the former television champion Alex Wright, in which should be one hell of a matchup between those two men. 62 rating, though, for this matchup here. After the match, we get a bit of a brawl at ringside as Stevie Ray loses his mind and confronts Lex Luger. Ends up turning into a brawl with him as Alex Wright kind of celebrates the victory. Kind of celebrates for a little bit until he realizes that there's a brawl going on at ringside, and then he kind of puts a stop to it and tries to help out as security come down to try to stop the brawl before the show goes elsewhere. So continuing issues between Stevie Ray and Lex Luger here. Gotta imagine it's going to lead to something big in the near future, but we're going to have to wait and see what that ends up being. After that, the Armstrongs are backstage talking about what happened earlier in the night. Jesse James saying that he's not disheartened by it. He knows he'll get the victory next time. 43 rating. This is essentially just a way to get the Armstrongs on TV and get all the Armstrongs on TV, that is, and just kind of a way to kind of show Jesse James that, you know, even taking a loss in, you know, in this kind of setting over is not detrimental to him. He's not disheartened by it. He's not disappointed by it. He's going to learn better for next time. So nice little way to get him get him a little bit more over again and go from there. After that, we have Chris Benoit backstage warming up for his matchup against Dustin Rhodes later in the night. When Brian Pilman comes in and hypes up how this is a must-win for Benoit tonight, he says he's not worried about Dustin Rhodes, but he would also rather face someone else at Bash of the Beach. Someone obviously not Dustin Rhodes. Flair comes in and talks up being the mystery opponent for Bam Bam Bigelow tonight in the main event. He is so confident that he is obviously going to be the choice to take on Bam Bam Bigelow tonight. He's a former world heavyweight champion. He is the top person in WCW. He is clearly the perfect opponent for Bam Bam Bigelow tonight. Brian Pillman then kind of pauses and questions Flair's thought process, saying he thought it was all about making sure the U.S. title stayed with the Horsemen. Flair kind of pauses at this and says, "You know, you're right. You're right, Pillman. It's all about that U.S. title. It's all about making sure the U.S. title stays with the Horsemen. We're going to make sure that it stays with the Horsemen. We got to make sure that Benoit wins tonight, so then we can make sure that Brian Pillman defends against whoever the hell he wants to at Bash of the Beach, and the title stays with the Horsemen. That's all it comes down to." Brian Pillman leaves after getting that confidence boost there, and Flair kind of mentions to Benoit that Chris knows him better than, or Chris has been around Flair longer than Pillman has at this point, and that Flair and Benoit both know that the Horseman is truly all about excellence, not just about the U.S. title, but about excellence in general, which Flair will prove tonight when he wins the world title. So Ric Flair is very confident about the idea that he is the mystery opponent for Bam Bam Bigelow later in the night. We're going to have to see if that ends up being true. But fantastic segment rating here, 97. Great stuff there. I can always trust Benoit, I can always trust Pillman and Flair to just absolutely kill it when it comes to these segment ratings, and go from there. After that, bit of a short squash match in a way, which doesn't do too well because they don't click. Barry Windham with a quick under 5-minute victory over Christopher Daniels by pinfall to superplex. They don't click at all, which kind of sucks. But yeah, this was essentially just let's get Barry Windham a victory on Nitro. And also get Christopher Daniels a few minutes in a matchup on Nitro as well. That's essentially what this match was. After that, Cactus Jack with a 99 rated promo where he says that he spent years in the wrestling business doing things that others cringed at the sight of out of fear. He did things that people felt physically sick after seeing. He's had his ear ripped off, his teeth knocked out, and so many other injuries that people would end careers in this business because of. So being attacked by this now madness-driven Randy Savage is a walk in the park for someone like Cactus Jack. But if that's the direction that Savage wants to go, then he has no problem making Savage scream and beg for mercy. Savage thinks he knows what madness is, but Cactus will make him feel true madness at Bash of the Beach. So it kind of becomes official here. It is going to be Cactus Jack taking on Randy Savage at Bash of the Beach, but we don't know what kind of match yet. We just know that the two are going to fight at Bash of the Beach. We don't know if it's going to be a regular singles match, if it's going to have some sort of stipulation behind it. We're not sure, but set to have a one-on-one or some sort of match at Bash of the Beach. Cactus struggled when going off script, but it's still got a 99. So if he hadn't struggled, it would have been a 100 rated segment. That's great stuff. Nevertheless, we're going to get Cactus Jack and Randy Savage at Bash of the Beach, which should be amazing. After that, Gene Okerlund with a quick little interview with the Rock and Roll Express, who talk about looking forward to competing against a new generation of tag teams here in WCW. Of course, they had the matchup against the Blue Bloods at Great American Bash and did not get the victory in that on that night. But they're kind of talking about how they're looking forward to taking on the Blue Bloods again in the future, as well as some other tag teams here in WCW. Just kind of putting over the fact that they're a legendary tag team in the business and that they're looking forward to taking on the young guns, so to speak. After that, we get that one-on-one matchup, which is a 87 rated matchup and an exceptional match, which, surprisingly enough, Benoit actually completely outperformed Dustin Rhodes in. Not that surprising that Benoit had that good of a performance, but that Dustin Rhodes did not have that good of a performance. Nevertheless, Dustin Rhodes defeats Chris Benoit in 1547 by pinfall with a bulldog. 1546, that is. By pinfall with a bulldog. Brian Pillman distracted Dustin Rhodes during the matchup, but Eddie Guerrero came down and attacked Brian Pillman, which caused a distraction to Chris Benoit, and Dustin Rhodes was able to hit the bulldog and get the victory. 87 rated matchup. 87 from Benoit, 75 from Dustin Rhodes, and this now means that Dustin Rhodes is officially the number one contender for the United States Championship at Bash of the Beach. So, Brian Pillman versus Dustin Rhodes should be a really, really great matchup there. After the match, we go backstage. We have Gene Okerlund backstage with Steve Austin and the Road Warriors. Austin is asked about the end of his challenge and says it doesn't matter about their stupid plan or being allied with the Road Warriors or anything like that. All he cares about is beating the hell out of each and every single one of them. Road Warrior Animal says that they've seen groups like this come and go in the business, even kind of mentioning the Four Horsemen among others. But something's different about this group. So they don't care if Austin trusts them or not. They want to make sure the NWO is stopped before they truly get going. Steve Austin is then asked about their partner, asked about the fact that, asked if they're going to go into it in a 4-on-3 setting or if they're going to actually find a partner to team up with them to make this an 8-man tag. But that's when the interview gets interrupted by the returning Johnny B. Bad. Johnny B. Bad, making his WCW return, says that he has some revenge to be dished out and says that he will be there at Bash of the Beach. Before walking off, Steve Austin looks at Okerlund, says that it looks like Gene has his answer. So, it is official for Bash of the Beach. It is going to be the NWO taking on Steve Austin, the Road Warriors, and Johnny B. Bad. Of course, if you remember the last time we saw Johnny B. Bad, he was attacked in the parking lot, being down, left, laid out, thanks to the NWO. And now he is making his return and is going to be teaming up with Austin and the Road Warriors at Bash of the Beach. So that should be a hell of an 8-man tag team matchup for that show. 82 rating for this segment too. Good stuff there. After that, Ron Simmons is backstage walking when he is suddenly jumped by Diamond Dallas Page and Ric Flair. Of course, remember last week, Flair said that was just step 1 from a few weeks ago with Paige being out there ringside. He said that step 2 was to come, and they walked off to go talk about something. Well, apparently this is step 2 because Diamond Dallas Page and Ric Flair are both attacking Ron Simmons right now. I just mixed their names in 2 different forms there. Page and Flair beat Simmons down until Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko come running in to chase Flair and Page off. Eddie Guerrero checks on Ron Simmons while Dean Malenko stands guard until officials can arrive to check on Simmons. So clearly the Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Ron Simmons alliance has not come to an end yet, as Guerrero and Malenko kind of check on Ron Simmons here tonight, helping him out against the 2-on-1 beatdown that Diamond Dallas Page and Ric Flair tried to cause. So we'll have to see what that leads to. 85 rated segment, good stuff there. After that, Bam Bam Bigelow comes out to the ring, and he is in there waiting for his opponent on this evening. Roddy Piper comes out, says that there's a lot of great, talented wrestlers in WCW that could provide a challenge for Bam Bam Bigelow, but he has chosen one who has never had a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, or at least that we know of anyway, before the save started. Since the save started, that is. And it is none other than a member of the Blue Bloods, Lord Steven Regal. Of course, remember, Roddy Piper has said recently that there was another opportunity for the Blue Bloods, although to be fair, he said that was for Bash at the Beach, but apparently he's moved it up. So tonight, it is Lord Steven Regal taking on Bam Bam Bigelow for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, as Regal comes out to the ring before the announcer does introductions for the main event. The main event match, with those two men going at it, gets an 81 rating. I will take it. In an exceptional matchup, Bam Bam Bigelow defeats Lord Steven Regal in 1450 by submission. Bam Bam Bigelow making defense number 1 of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. 81 rating. 87 from Bam Bam Bigelow. 86 from Lord Steven Regal. Actually, to be fair, I'm kind of wondering why that did as low as it did, honestly. I see a little bit of spoiler stuff there, but lack of associated storyline. That's because I didn't get the world title storyline associated with it. That's why. It would have been a higher rating if I had actually done something, if I had actually advanced that storyline or whatever. But you know what? For a non-storyline associated matchup, I will take an 81 for sure for these two men. Bam Bam Bigelow retaining the WCW World Heavyweight Championship over Lord Steven Regal, who put up a valiant effort but could not survive the bear hug from Bam Bam Bigelow. After the match, though, Bigelow decides to try to send a message to Regal, setting him up for a powerbomb, but that's when Sting and Lex Luger come running out from the back to make the save. Sting and Luger begin fighting with Bigelow until Vader shows up to try to even the odds, and Nitro comes to an end with both teams fighting each other in the ring. The security trying to break things up as the show fades to black. 69 rating there. Not sure why this did so bad, but it is what it is. Ends the show of Nitro this week, which gets an 88 rating. I will take it for sure. Increasing popularity across the board. Let's freaking go. So a very strong show yet again from Nitro as Biff Wellington shows up on your on your screens there. Nevertheless, a very strong show from Nitro once again. And the build for Bash at the Beach continues on. We now have a few more confirmed matches to happen on that show. Not only do we have Bam Bam Bigelow and Sting for the world title, we now have the television championship matchup, Chris Jericho and Alex Wright going at it. We now have the United States Championship matchup as Brian Pilman defends against Dustin Rhodes. We know that Cactus Jack and Randy Savage will be going at it. And we'll have to see what else happens on that show. Nitro this week, again, with the victory in the ratings. Kind of expected thing at this point. Raw got an 80. Their show had a 100 rated main event, which actually was considered a match of the year candidate rating. But the rest of the show, not so much. To be fair, I'm not sure how that got an 80 exactly, because, there's some 60s there, but, I suppose it makes sense in a way. They're just not, they don't have a good balanced show overall. We have, they go and they put everything into their main event, and then everything else is just kind of whereas us, we have we have a pretty good main event, but we also have a really great balanced show throughout the whole show. So that's what we're kind of hitting on there. Did want to make a note really quick when it comes to this, because of course, taking on the WWF in this whole thing, did need to make a note and show. Let me pull this up here real quick. There we go. So I needed to make a note and show that WWF has risen to big size. So they are officially at big size. They're the first company to have that increase. There are 81s across the board, except for Puerto Rico and Hawaii, where they're 80. So they are officially at big size at this point. We're going to have to see if we can try to get to big size ourselves. We're a little bit behind them when it comes to that right now. Let me do this because I didn't want to reveal anything on there. So we're still a little bit behind them right now, popularity-wise. We're still 80 in the Southeast, but we're still 73 and 72 everywhere else at this point. So we still have a little bit of work to do before we get to that big size. But just because they are more popular does not mean that we're not growing faster, because at this point, they might be up there, but their show ratings are kind of averaging out right now. They're not really gaining that much popularity, whereas we are sitting here with 85 or higher rated nitros and going into increasing in popularity pretty quickly. As you see there, we started off 45, 46 last year, almost a year ago at this point, and now we're all the way up in the 70 level. So we are definitely racing pretty quickly. Once we get closer to September in a couple months here, which is crazy to think about that we are a couple months away from being a year into the series, we'll actually do an episode where we'll kind of break down like a few things, kind of break down like how WCW's expanded over the year and all that stuff. So we'll kind of go more in depth with the popularity stuff then. But, they've gotten to big size. We're not quite at that level yet, but they're it's one of those graph things where like they're kind of slightly going up, whereas we're like quickly going up. So it will not take much longer until we're right there on that level with them. But thank you for watching this episode. Definitely appreciate the support for the series. Apologies for this getting out a day later than normal. Sickness stuff is not fun to deal with, but nevertheless, appreciate the support for the series, and we will catch you guys next time for another episode in our WCW What If series.